All right. Let's talk WWDC 2026 here. Apple made some announcements this week for users and for developers, and we've actually had a little time to digest all that. We're not just hearing about it. So I'm curious. I think we can kind of go around the room here and talk about what jumped out at us. So Adam, you want to start? I'm putting you on the spot. I'm happy
You
to
are
go
putting me on the
first.
spot. No, you're fine.
Okay.
I mean, I think for me, it was two things. Well, I guess there's all three things that they kind of covered were interesting to me for different reasons. I was really happy just in general, without going into too much detail yet, that on the operating system side over across the board, focus on refinement. You are going to get one of those refinement years, which I'm always really happy about, where it's mostly on making things better, making minor improvements. Obviously liquid glass was a huge jump forward and caused a lot of things that I think, people weren't happy about. So it sounds like they listened to a lot of feedback. And so that's always exciting when we get those kind of years. It really surprised me that they had a big focus on parental controls. Like, that was a little weird to me. Like, do we really need to spend this much time on a topic that is really focused at a percentage of the market? Maybe it's bigger than maybe it's bigger than I think. Maybe it's a bigger thing. I think it's a good thing. I don't have anything against parental controls and security and that sort of stuff, but it seemed just like an odd topic for a room, a bunch of developers that you're sort of focusing at. And then obviously, I'm sure we'll get into the biggest part of it, which was I was very happy to see the stuff with Siri and AI and Gemini. And, we knew that was coming, but to get a lot more details about what they're doing and kind of seeing what they demoed was pretty impressive.
Yeah, Pete, you were saying about liquid glass. You had something specific to say about that?
Well, I think that obviously liquid glass was not a big hit in everybody's book, and then they had the increased contrast. But now with the slider that you can move it to go, oh, I like that. I think that was a brilliant move on their part to give it more granular control.
I agree. Because I develop, I am the lead developer now on two different iOS apps for, or at least the project coordinator, which I think also makes me the lead developer for our Mac Geek app, and then for another one that we do for one of the other companies. I figured, okay, I have to update to the beta like much sooner than I normally would. So I installed it. I installed the Dev Beta 1 on my daily driver iPhone, and
Whoa.
I know. But it works fine. I mean, hang on.
Yeah.
I just needed to knock on a lot of wood.
Yeah.
But I've been very impressed. Yes, there was the initial sort of battery drain thing that happens, and it tells you that when you're, in the settings or whatever. But man, I'm impressed. So my 17 Pro is running the Dev Beta 1, and I have yet to find an app that doesn't work. I was able to take advantage of the wonderful slider, all the things. So I still have not gotten access to the Siri AI, which we'll talk about here in a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm on the wait list for that. But otherwise, I know. No one is more thrilled than me, Adam. So
At least you get all the features of the Siri AI. My iPhone 16 Pro made for AI is, apparently not made for AI, I guess.
yeah, okay. So yes, let's talk about that. I think so. Right. So let me make sure I get this right so that we're speaking correctly. But I believe it is the 17 Pro and later are the iPhones, the 17 Pro, and then the 17 SE, right, are the ones that support the new. So there's two different models of Apple Foundation models that run on device, and there's the sort of standard, and then there's the upgraded one, and only the 17 Pro and later get the upgraded one. I am presuming that this is entirely dependent on the amount of RAM that the device has.
That's the theory, that you need 12 or something like that,
Yeah.
I think is the minimum.
Which kind of, if you've run any models on your own devices, which you can do on an iPhone with locally AI, or you can do with Olama on your Mac. I mean, there's many ways to run open source models, or you can just install the software and it will see that you have Apple Foundation model. We have an Apple Foundation model in iOS 26 too, and you can run that. But you can choose any other models you want, but it will tell you, hey, if you choose a model that is going to need to require more RAM than you have, it ain't going to be any faster. Like, you're not going to get the speed benefits because you're going to be swapping like crazy. So the model has to be able to live in RAM. This is why Mac Minis with lots of RAM are impossible to come by right now, right? Because people bought them all up, or maybe they were. I don't know if they still are. But there was a period of time earlier this year where you couldn't get them. So that was the reason. So I'm guessing that that's the limitation for you, is they're giving you as much as your device can hold in RAM. Yeah. One thing I noticed on the developer side is that developers now get access to AI models, right? You can, in your app. So I was thinking about the Mac Geek app, right? So let's use this. What if you want a summary of an episode, right? And you have, I don't know if you know this, but in the Mac Geek app, it can see the full transcript of the episode. We publish that in a way that podcast clients can consume it. I mean, you could look at it too as a human. It's just like, if you go to the episode MP3 and change MP3 to .vtt, and you too can read along with a transcript. But it's better to let the app do it because it lines it up and puts it where you want it. But what about taking that and saying, okay, summarize this section of an episode, like summarize, we break it up into chapters. So look at the timestamps, do the thing. We could absolutely do that, right? And we probably will, or at least we'll experiment with it and see what it's like. We'll see if there's some useful ways to use it. And what I found really interesting is that for third-party apps, on-device model access is free. There is no charge or subscription required or anything like that. Devices that use Apple's private cloud compute is that qualifying developers, my guess is you're going to have to apply to use it with a good reason, similar to the entitlements that we talked about for things like CarPlay or something like that. That's my interpretation. Is that once you've proven that you have a good reason to use it, you get that also for no API costs, which I find really interesting. Clearly, Apple's subsidizing this, right? But I like that they're doing that because it immediately opens up all these creative uses, whatever a developer can dream up, as long as it gets the thumbs up. Now you can do that too. So if I can't, I think we could do the summary with the on-device models, the summary I cooked up in my head just now, that I think the on-device models would be very good at doing that. But if you need to do something that the on-device models cannot do, private cloud compute is right there for you. The free tier applies, as I'm finding, applies to developers in the App Store Small Business Program with fewer than 2 million first-time App Store downloads. Okay, so maybe we have to join the Small Business Program. I got to look into that. Okay, great. I think we're still under our 2 million number there, Adam. So we're really, really close. But I thought that was really interesting.
It is cool. That's great.
Yeah, and then if you want to use a different third-party model, and if you want to route to Claude or Gemini, that's a paid path under whatever that provider's terms are. And you as a developer could do that, or you could probably have it that the user has, depending on what your use case is, that the user has to provide their own API key or OAuth login or whatever that is. So,
Now, am I wrong in understanding that Apple's private cloud thing though is they partnered with Google, right? So they're using Gemini on their private cloud, right? Some sort of variant or some sort of like Apple version of it.
I
basically.
believe that's correct. I also believe the on-device models are now, Gemini at their core.
Got it.
Yeah, I don't think. I think the name Apple Foundation is the only thing that sticks, but I could be wrong about that. But as I understood it, they're all kind of partnered.
Yeah, they
with
said
Gemini.
they integrated a lot with Gemini to
Exactly.
or used,
Yeah.
basically. They didn't say we stole from Gemini.
Yeah.
No. I'm sure Google's getting a nice big fat check.
Yeah, but I think, as I understand it, and I don't know anything, but as I understand it, it's a lot of money, and it is far less than what Google pays Apple to have search integrated into the iPhone.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just giving a little bit back.
But there were deals. There were deals made.
There were deals made. Oh, for sure. Yeah. But yeah, I'm eager to see. I love that they're enhancing this. I love that Siri AI is, as they said, a profoundly more capable assistant and more conversational and all of that.
It's true.
Yeah, and at some level it is like the dedicated app where you can see the history of your conversations. I love that. We were, of course, for anybody that's listened long enough knows that my son has written a palindromic tip calculator in lots of different languages. The first place he wrote it wasn't even called Shortcuts. It was called Workflow before Apple had acquired it, right? And then that's kind of his go-to project anytime he learns a new language, right, is, to do this. And of course, it's, evolved over the years and all that stuff. I think the one that I have running on my iPhone now runs JavaScript on my iPhone. But he went and, because he put the dev beta on his phone too, as he often does, and he went and asked Shortcuts or asked Siri to create this shortcut for him, and it did parts of it. I don't know if he ever quite got it all the way, but he got pretty far down the path with no arranging of blocks in the Shortcuts app, which is, I love this, right? The idea of people being able to kind of vibe code their own things, I think, is great. Yeah. And not know, it's, to me, this is really, and it's a baby step, but it's the first step to people that don't consider themselves programmers being able to do some amount of this.
Yeah, do they call that some describe a shortcut or?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're doing the same thing for extensions in Safari.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if you need an extension for something, hey, watch this band page for when, tickets go on sale and notify me. You could just describe that and it would write an extension for you that would do exactly that.
Yeah, its update frequency is slow. I think
maybe that's not the best example, but
no,
you get the point.
Yeah, Lucas and I, we went and saw the first two shows of Rush's tour, but the night before we're recording this was show number 3, and we wanted to be updated anytime we wanted to know, because they've been playing different set lists every night. They keep some of the same songs, but they keep moving things around and even swapping songs in and out. And so we wanted to know what's going to happen on night 3. And he went and wrote the shortcut. And I believe, I'm trying to pull it up here. The frequency can be daily, weekly, or monthly. And it's we would by the minute. That sounds good. That would be enough. We're willing to go that low. So, it not everything, but yes, these are steps, and I love it. Yeah. So, yeah, it's my gut in watching the keynote was that all of these Siri updates brought us to where like ChatGPT was in terms of functionality. Probably smarter than where ChatGPT was 2 years ago, but in terms of functionality, we get a chatbot out of Siri, a fully functional chatbot using today's models,
Right.
and that's great. But
Well,
go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I mean, for me, the bigger part of it is what we should have had so long ago with Siri,
That's
which
what
is
yeah.
the contextual awareness of all my things that are on my computer that are Apple things, like that it knows my contacts and it knows my calendar and it knows my notes and it knows my email and it knows all of that stuff. My biggest pet peeve was how long, I guess it took until 2026 that I'm finally going to be able to say, hey, S lady, what time is my meeting today? And it will be able to actually just tell me. It's so
it won't
basic.
say I can't show you that in the car.
No, it just,
Right.
like my calendar. I don't need to give you a bunch of information. I don't need to say what time is my specific name of meeting happening today. Like
At 2
just
o'clock today.
What time are my meetings today? Like it's a simple thing, and maybe it can do it now. I tried it a long time ago, but I still don't think she does. But once now she can connect things together and, hey, what time is that meeting I'm supposed to have today? And she looks at my calendar and it's not there. And now knows to go, well, let me go look in your email. Oh, there's the notification in email. Oh, I found this in your email or whatever it might be. It's like, would you like me to add it to your calendar? Just the conversational awareness, the awareness of all my stuff.
Yep.
Is going to be a huge change for us. And I know people on other platforms are going like, we had that 5 years ago.
Yeah.
welcome to the future.
As Soccer Hallways in our live chat points out, this is the cost of privacy.
Yeah.
Right.
I get it.
That we have to be able to run these models locally to be able to do that and still keep our data ours. Right. So but the thing is, even Apple users, many, I would probably say most, but I haven't done anything official, obviously on this, but I would say most Apple users, and I could be wrong about most, are completely willing to trade that level of privacy for that level of convenience. Yeah. And that's where I think a lot of the frustration comes in. Is like, yes, thank you for protecting our privacy, but you're protecting it too much. Give us the choice, right? And I think that's what privacy is all about, is the choice. So, but that is the cost. That's why we are where we are.
I just always felt like.
Wonder.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead, Pete.
I was going to say, I have to wonder how much of that is involved in meeting like government standards and military standards, because I know people in the military that have to have, their device on a military network, and then therefore the privacy becomes a huge issue.
I don't think that's the reason. I mean, if it were, Apple would have said it, because no other vendor is locking themselves in like this. For everyone, you can certainly turn off features for those devices that need to be used by the military, right? Like, if you have a thing, turn it off, and then you're fine, right? But and that happens all the time on Android and on iOS. There are certain features, like on Macs that are sold in some of those places, don't have cameras, right? Like there was a period of time. I don't know if that's the case anymore, but
because I just know that when I left active duty, that really wasn't a thing. And now watching my daughter log into the military network, it is a hoop after hoop after hoop to get it done. But Apple seems to do it just fine, but it's still multi-steps. So that's all.
I don't think that. I think it's that they want to be able to say we are the company that protects. Yes, and I get that. I like that for them. Yeah, to a point, but it's hurt them significantly,
severely. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. But. Again, the cost of privacy, right? Like we have ChatGPT, we have the Siri equivalent to ChatGPT, the chatbot, or Claude, the chatbot from 2 years ago. What we don't have is co-work. right?
Right.
Where Siri's building spreadsheets for me on my Mac and all of those things. And anyone who is fully leveraging AI for their quote unquote normal work, right? Like not developers, not people that are super nerds, but people like we have everybody at Backbeat leveraging Claude Cowork now for for like building spreadsheet for the grunt work, or as David Sparks likes to say, the donkey work, right? Like it's doing all of that for us. And like it must be, if we choose not to do, we could choose not to do that. And you can choose not to do it too. And I just want to make sure everybody's choosing it eyes wide open, right? Like there's nothing wrong with either choice. But knowing that if you're choosing not to do that, you are actively giving this tool to your competition and not using it for yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And that's fine as long as you know that's what's happening. Right. So, yeah.
Yeah, my work is basically requiring it. It's just a mandate, same kind of thing. It's like you need to start to learn how to use these tools. You need to start using them. We have, goals for each person to like meet related to AI now, because it exactly what you're saying, Dave. Like you're not going to be able to compete if you're not doing it, because all your competitors are, and the time savings and the efficiencies that you gain are just too great.
Yes. Yeah, and it's fairly easy to learn how to do. In fact, really, my advice to anybody that hasn't done it is the next time you need to build a spreadsheet for something, fire up Claude Cowork and fumble through it. Just tell it what you want to do, and it'll walk you through it from there. And then you'll get better at it. Way better at it. The first time's the hardest time, right? So.
I mean, even simple things like I was tasked. One of the tasks I really hate is I had to do interviews, for some new hires and stuff like that. And it's like, well, I used it to help formulate, interview questions, and I just kind of gave it the kind of requirements. I fed it like the the job posting is, okay, this is what we're looking for, and then gave it some other information about what we do on a daily basis and just stuff from my knowledge. And I'm doing a more technical interview, so it's like we need to focus on A, B, and C, and help me write some interview questions. We had a little back and forth, and within probably 5-10 minutes I had 5 really good interview questions with follow-ups, and I used them and it worked great. And then after that I took my notes and I fed that in, and then use that to generate, the summary that I had to deliver to my HR people to say, this is what I think about this person, and this is where their strengths and weaknesses are, and all that stuff. And it was like that stuff I used to dread. It would take me hours in the past, and I like had it done in a quarter of the time probably.
Yeah. I've said this on Business Brain. I actually think I said it on GigGab too, that I think the current use, the way most of us are able to currently use AI, I think we're using the wrong words to fill the acronym or the initials of AI, because artificial intelligence is not the way I think of or use it. I use assistive intelligence. It is a fantastic collaborator. And just what you described, Adam, like that was you drove that process. You just had it do the grunt work part of it, and then you didn't like a few of the things, and so you tweaked with it. Like that's your work assisted by this thing. And I love it. Yeah.
Well, and that's what's great is that's where you start, and then you have things like you have the tools to enhance the AI and to like skills. So like another great example, and I don't remember if I shared this too, is we had a certain procedure or process for submitting software update requests to our software team.
Sure.
But they have very specific requirements about what qualifies. And so I was able to use skill to feed guidelines in to say, hey, I need a skill for writing this kind of document, this kind of submission that I have to put into this other system. And, it was like, I want you to check this. And so we worked back and forth. We created the skill. So now every time I need to do one, I describe what I need to do. I say, hey, I need you to write this thing, and I feed in what I'm the requirements, and it will now evaluate and say, oh, you know what, that actually technically doesn't qualify, you need to do something else. Or hey, this is pretty good, but you need to tweak this and this. Otherwise, it's probably going to get denied because you didn't meet these like basic requirements of like what this is supposed to be. So exactly, assist. And now I can write those things a lot faster because it's just like, hey, here's what I need. Help me write one of these. And then it generates, the Word document or whatever I need to send off to, the next person. And it's amazing. So, but I guess we got a little bit away. Point is, Apple's not there yet.
No, not that I can
Siri AI.
see. I want the Siri equivalent of co-work like that.
Yeah.
That's what, and I don't see why privacy would have to limit that. Especially if we can leverage private cloud compute.
Yeah.
Like that because then you're like, what's the difference? Yeah. As long as you're okay with that. Yeah.
We'll get there. They're just so far behind. They're playing catch up.
Yeah. But I'm excited about it. I don't want to sound like the naysayer here. I am eager to test this out, and I can't wait until I get the new Siri AI. So I'm truly seeing the everything that's there.
That's where the frustration is right now too, especially with developers, is they've got this thing on a waiting list, so it's like a very slow rollout.
Yep.
Yeah, I've heard that from a lot of people. They're like, I don't understand why we're here where I'm going to be waiting, however many months before I can even see what this thing, put it through its paces.
Yeah, right. I know. Yep.
When is the rollout? September going to be, you think?
Well, I mean, the OS, developer beta is now,
right.
Public beta in July, OS in the fall. That's what Apple has said. But Siri AI is not part of that schedule. I mean, you can, like, I'm on the wait. I said it, I'm on the wait list. Lucas is on the wait list. I know some people have already gotten off the wait list. I think most, and this could be a vocal minority, most of the chatter I'm hearing is people still on the wait list. So I'm curious what their plans are with that, and we will only find out when we find out. So, yep. And I think Soccer Hallways has it again. He says it's Apple's must be perfect mindset, and they don't want to overload their models, the private cloud compute models, and crash them and all that stuff. And it's like, well, okay, but like every day, Anthropic and Google and OpenAI are rolling out Fable, Mythos exists out there in the cloud, and you and I can use it. Like, so what's the holdup, Henry?
Right.
I'm sure they have good reasons for this. I'm sure they have reasons they think are good for this. Let me put it that way. But what it communicates is Apple's technology isn't as good as X. That's the interpretation that most people get is, they're behind still.
The optics, it just look really, really bad.
Yeah.
And most of the other world who's not us doesn't understand any of the nuances of it, and they don't care.
They don't care. Even the people who do understand, like us, we don't care as much. It's like, let's just, let us touch it. It's been long enough, guys. We've waited long enough, and we've moved on. Like, I don't know. Apple has a history of coming in with the best solution late, but I don't know that this is going to be one of those times. We'll see. All right.
I'm excited about it on the Vision Pro with the little orb that you put in your room now, and Siri just lives in your space. That looks really cool.
That's pretty cool.
And being able to use create your own spaces with your panoramas. That's pretty sweet
that's
too.
super exciting too.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yep.
I got one other comment I'd like to talk about, and I got a slight possible disagreement with you, Adam, on the parental control. I think maybe from our paradigm, we're all past needing parental control, but I think that's something that it is really important, and there's some things I wish I'd have done differently, particularly with my youngest. His glued screen to his face, I think, was developed early on, and a lot of that goes to me because he was an unusual child. I would say go mow the lawn, and he'd put his games down and he'd go mow the lawn and he'd come back. Literally, I had another one who would take 3 weeks to mow the lawn. Well, there was a stick in the yard. I couldn't, I had to wait for that to rot before I could finish mowing the yard. Not this one. Hey, in the middle of a game, hey, feed the dog. He'd stop what he's doing. He'd go feed the dog. So he did what he was asked. So we let him have as much screen time as he wanted. Bad move. But that's history. So I looked at the parental controls. They spent a lot of time on it. I agree, but being able to even convert a current child account or a current account into a child account looked pretty useful. Again, each and every parent is going to do it differently, and that's their choice. But I think they've put some real effort into making it easier for parents to give them the granular control they wanted. So I applaud them for that.
I mean, clearly they've prioritized this, right? I mean, they spent over 15 minutes on it in a 70-minute keynote ish. Yeah. So, clearly, it's something they've decided is important and that they can be the leaders at. I like that the UX for parental controls really seems to borrow a lot from what they've learned about focus modes, right? Like that's what it reminded me of. And I like that interface is allows you to be very granular in a very easy to visualize way. And I love that they did that. And of course, I come at this exactly like you said, Pete, with my own lens. My comment, like the whole ask to browse thing, as I was watching this, the comment that I typed to myself in my notes is, and I'm reading verbatim, can my wife and I do this for each other? Like, why limit this to kids? But I know we can do it for ourselves with screen time, but can I designate an accountability partner on this? It's not just kids who have this issue.
I've got a 20-year-old who has this issue, and I
also mean maybe some of us here. I'm talking about me. I'm not pointing fingers.
No, you're not wrong.
But could my wife and I be accountability partners for screen time for each other, with opt-in permission? Yeah.
Can you?
I wish I could say you were.
I don't know. It didn't seem like it. I haven't tried to dig into it, but I think it's, I don't think you can have two adults controlling each other's phones. That's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just was a little shocked that they took the time to spend on this at a developer conference. That was my only comment. It's not against what they're doing or why they're doing it or anything. And I think if I really think about it, I think the answer is that this is Apple's typical, hey, we see a large social problem. This is they've always been like this, where they want to tackle, whether it's the environment or, in this case, I think what it is we're talking about mental health issues. We're talking about, distracted kids. We're talking about learning. We're talking about a lot of social impact that, things like social media and just screen time and all these things everybody's known about for a really long time. And like you said, Dave, they want to be the leaders. They want to be the company that steps forward and says, all right, we hear everybody complaining about this stuff. We're actually doing something about it. And here's what it is. So we are going to tackle the problem, not just say we have a problem, we need to do something like we've been hearing for years.
Yeah, fair. Yeah.